Welcome to the Kemosabe Ranch, everybody.
Howdy.
It seems to be a hot topic in the sheep world of rotational grazing. Do we rotationally graze at the Kemosabe Ranch? Yes, we do. We rotate roughly every 7 days, and our paddock sizes are roughly about an acre wide. I'll let Seth go into a little bit of detail about that.
About the size of the paddock?
Yeah.
So our goal was to get everything we researched. It was around 40 to 50 days is how long the parasite load stays on the ground alive. And so our goal on the 10 acres was to be able to rotate them through and bring them back to the original paddock they started at least 45 to 50 days later. And so that's why we kind of broke it down to 1 acre paddocks. So that's the biggest concern with us was the parasites. All small ruminants carry parasites. It's normal. It's just managing that parasite load to where they're healthy.
And why parasites are an issue, more of an issue in sheep and small ruminant than they are in cattle or buffalo or whatever, is because sheep, they don't really have like a limit to how far they're going to eat the grass down. So if you keep sheep on a paddock, an acre paddock for a year, there's going to be no grass left. They're going to eat it all the way down to the roots. So what that means is when they're eating the grass so far down, they start to eat down into the poop. And the poop, when they poop, they produce the parasite eggs, and then in, I think it's roughly 4 to 5-ish days, 3, 4, 5 days, the eggs will hatch. So if they're eating that grass down to the ground and they're eating into the poop, well, then they eat the live parasites, and that's when you get the worm problems and everything.
Yeah.
But again, I said we rotate every 7 days, but that's because we have the grass height and the amount of grass to do that for 7 days before they get down to where they're going to start eating their poop.
Yeah, ideally, I think you want to have them like anywhere from 8 to 12 inches up is where we're wanting them to eat. And it seems like that's what they've done in this last one, where we really pushed them on a little smaller paddock to check it and see how it did. And it seems like they stripped everything off. They weren't really munching on the ground. And then, because if you overgraze, it causes a problem. Like you said, they eat down to the roots and it kills the grass. And that kind of takes us to the second point of rotationally grazing. Is it's really good for your land and for the soil and for the grass itself.
Regeneration and
growth. So you have all this manure, and the manure goes into the soil, and then it all, you're cutting the tops off basically, and it's getting fresh growth every time, and so it has a higher nutrient balance or nutrient load at the top, and so it's actually better for the land as well. It's a learning experience for us, but it is really neat to see the difference so far and how it plays out. We'll kind of keep updating on that because we're learning it as we go too. I know that it's just easier to know that your herd's going to be healthy and your ground's going to be healthy.
It is. Now, there are some people that rotate every day. They will come out every night and they'll rotate them off. That's fine. That's perfectly okay. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We just stretched it out to 7 days, a little bit better paddocks because we don't live out here. It's more difficult for us to rotate every day. So we've kind of found that good number for us every Sunday or Saturday that we can get out here to rotate them. We'll push them into a new paddock, and this is summertime rotational grazing when the grass is really good, really healthy. Now when we get into the wintertime, it'll probably change a little bit. One, because in the wintertime when it gets cold, your parasites aren't going to survive in the poop, so you can really keep them in one area a lot longer. So I think come December, January, February-ish, March maybe, we're going to put them into just 2 paddocks. We're going to open up 2 paddocks that they can have, and then they'll come up to we have a central feeding, watering location that they're going to be able to come into.
Yeah, and that's when we would supplement with hay as needed. But I think also having the other ones closed off would give us kind of a safety net. If we needed to push them in to have fresh grass, we could open them up and push them into the other paddocks as well. We're just trying to kind of write our book on it and how we want to do it here on the ranch, and how other people may do it differently. I know there's a lot of videos out there about that. But I think really finding what works for you and your property and your schedule. It's easier to move them. They can stay on a 1 acre section. That's a fairly large area for 60 even. Whereas if we had them on a half acre, quarter acre, then we'd have to start cutting those days. And I think the most important thing is the grass, the quantity of grass and the quality of grass in your paddocks.
Which we have good quality grass right now. It's been a little dry the last week or so, so we're hoping for some rain to kind of boost the grass back up. But the bottom line is, I think you should rotationally graze your sheep. I think it's going to be good and healthy for your land. I think you're really going to limit your parasite load on the ground and in your sheep. And I think those are the two biggest concerns that people have.
Yeah, for sheep farming, you know. But I think too with the parasites, the main reason was, if you research it, there's not a lot of wormers out there that are being effective, because so many people have just wormed as like just because. Call back. She always calls when we're doing a video.
Every time.
But there are a few that work, but you don't want to have to worm your sheep. The goal is to not have to worm them. And so if you build up a parasite resistance without having to worm them, and you really build a really healthy herd that way. And so that's our goal, is to get a herd that is just naturally parasite resistant, and we don't have to worry about worming and dealing with those issues all the time.
Well, and if you worm too, that's just another cost you're running into. So we, instead of worming, we put the cost in towards our electric fencing to rotationally graze. The electric fencing is more permanent. We can reuse it. If we need to change the paddocks or whatever, we can reuse that. So it's more of an investment in that end, whether instead of investing into your wormer where it's one-time use and is what it is. I mean, if running a business, you need to keep your costs low, because that's how you run a successful business. And if that means we rotationally graze and don't have to deworm, then I would say that's a win.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's just our little Kemosabe Ranch take on rotationally grazing your sheep.
Yep.